Hello, my beautiful souls, and a special radiant welcome to all you magnificent Leos. Welcome back to Cosmic Wisdom, the sacred space where we illuminate the grand celestial script and discover how the universe is conspiring to help you claim your divine throne. I have a feeling you're tuning in today because you've sensed it, a subtle shift in your kingdom, a strange chill in the air where the warmth of the spotlight should be. We need to talk about a profound and deeply personal energy that is coming to light right now. Have you ever stood on the stage of your own life, ready for your grand performance, only to look out and see someone in the front row, someone from your own family, silently wishing you would forget your lines, not with angry words, not with a dramatic scene, but with a quiet, cutting withdrawal of applause, a withholding of warmth that feels more like a betrayal than any open conflict ever could? Dear Leo, your magnificent royal heart is built for loyalty, but your spirit knows the truth, even when your mind tries to rewrite the script. You've felt that gaze that no longer holds you with adoration, that tone that has lost its celebratory cheer. And deep within your golden heart, a question has begun to roar: was their love ever truly unconditional? Or was it only given when your shine served them, when your light made them look good by association? Before we dive deep into this cosmic revelation, I want you to anchor your power in this present moment. If this message is already resonating in your soul, go to the comments right now and declare with all your might: for you is family, a house, a place, or a feeling. Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's fill the comments with this powerful affirmation to create a wave of sovereign energy together. And if you haven't yet joined our proud pride here at Cosmic Wisdom, please, my friends, press that subscribe button now. I want to make sure you never miss these life-altering cosmic downloads created to ensure you are always wearing your crown. You see, some family ties, my dear Leo, are not golden threads of support, but gilded cages designed to keep your magnificent roar a submissive purr. There are those in our own lineage whose hearts have become eclipsed by envy. They simply cannot bear to witness your brilliant ascent because your radiance forces them to see the shadows they've refused to face in themselves. Your success is a mirror to what they feel they've failed to become, and instead of being inspired, they feel condemned by your light. And yet, you stayed. You, the generous, fixed-hearted ruler, you gave your light, your warmth, your forgiveness, time and time again. You stayed even when your boldest dreams were subtly mocked, when your creative fire was dismissed as too much, when your journey of self-discovery was labeled as selfish. You stayed because your heart, the very emblem of the sun, believes in the power of warmth to melt any coldness. You see the potential in everyone, the spark of divinity, even in those who now wear the mask of resentment. But your guides, your divine celestial court, they have seen what your loyal heart has refused to name. They have stood in the wings of your life's stage, their hearts aching for the way your spirit has tried to carry the heavy burdens of another's jealousy. They are the ones who have been sending you signs, the sudden feather on your path, the repeating numbers on the clock, the song on the radio, with the perfect lyrics whispering, urging you to awaken. Not from sleep, magnificent Leo, but from a misplaced loyalty to those who bask in your light but refuse to help you shine. What if this tension you're feeling isn't just a family spat? What if this is a form of spiritual warfare, cleverly disguised in polite family dinners and backhanded compliments? What if behind their forced smiles there is a silent curse of resentment, a soul-level decision they made long ago to try and dim your light because they could not brighten their own? Your guides are not showing you this to frighten you, my beautiful friend. They are pulling back the curtain because your soul contract with this dynamic is evolving. Your destiny is calling, and it is a destiny that demands you take center stage in your own life. You are no longer meant to be the supporting actor who dims their light so a lesser star can feel bright. You are becoming the one who reclaims the spotlight. It is time to release. Release the belief that your love can change them. Release the heavy cloak of guilt they have strategically placed upon your royal shoulders. Release the grand illusion that playing small will ever bring you peace. Your silence, your willingness to shrink has become a prison, and your soul is rattling the bars. They have noticed your awakening, Leo, and the subtle attacks may now intensify. These are not grand battles, they are insidious, energetic jabs, a pointed refusal to acknowledge your latest achievement, a sarcastic remark disguised as a joke about your ambitions, passive-aggressive digs at your confidence, your style, your very essence, the calculated exclusion from plans, the immediate shift in energy the moment you walk into a room, bright and bold. These are not random acts of thoughtlessness. These are targeted, energetic responses to your rising frequency. Your light, my dear Leo, is becoming unbearably bright to those who have chosen to live in the shadows of their own making. And yet, even now, a part of you still seeks their approval. You still search for their applause in the cold, empty theater of their heart. You wonder if you were too loud, too bright, too much. You find yourself over-explaining your joy, apologizing for your success, dimming your magnificent truth, just to make them feel more comfortable in your presence. Listen to me now, Leo. It is not your divine duty to carry the shame they have projected onto you. It is not your path to heal those who are committed to their own shadows. And it is not a betrayal of your family to walk away from those who resent the very light you were born to share. Some souls were written into the first act of your story, but they do not have a role in the epic finale. And your guides, your spiritual entourage, are now gently but firmly escorting them off the stage. Not because you are not loved, but because you are finally ready to be loved rightly. By those who don't ask you to shrink. By those who don't need you to suffer so they can feel significant. By a chosen pride who will honor your healing, celebrate your victories, and applaud your every scene. Let the ancestral dust of self-doubt fall away. Let the heavy chains of guilt shatter. Let the full magnificent roar return to your voice, because what is coming for you is not punishment, Leo. It is peace. It is your kingdom. And peace cannot enter until you name the silent war that has been waged against your heart. There is a profound reason your soul chose this particular lineage, magnificent Leo. A cosmic reason your radiant spirit landed in a family where your confidence was mistaken for arrogance and your joy was seen as a personal slight. This was no cosmic mistake. You were placed among them as a living sun, not to warm them if they refuse it, but to reveal the shadows they've kept hidden. And oh, they saw it. From the moment you were born, they saw your innate light, your star quality, even when you were too young to recognize it yourself. And for some, it sparked not love, but a deep, unsettling resentment. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your very presence made their own insecurities restless. Because when you walk into a room, truth and authenticity follow like your royal entourage, and not everyone welcomes such honored guests when their own life is built on a foundation of illusion. They might call you overly dramatic, too emotional, an attention seeker, but that, my beautiful friend, is the language people use when they can no longer control the narrative. What they truly fear is not your supposed fragility, it's your unshakable clarity. You see through the pretense. You feel the energetic truth behind the false words. And now you are beginning to speak that truth with the authority of a true sovereign. There was a time you held your tongue to keep the peace, wasn't there? A time you made yourself smaller, more digestible, more agreeable to the bland palate of others. You smiled graciously when your heart wanted to roar with righteous fury. You showed up to gatherings where your spirit felt drained, your energy siphoned. You played the role of the loyal cub, the peacemaker, the shining example, all while your own inner child sat in the corner begging to be chosen, to be celebrated, to be seen first, just for once. And that royal child within you, Leo, is rising now. Not with rage, but with regal remembrance. She remembers what it felt like to be gaslit, to be told your success wasn't that big of a deal, that their sharp tone was just a joke, that your powerful intuition was overreacting. She remembers standing in rooms that felt like cold, sterile courtrooms, where your passion was sacrilegious and your dreams were put on trial. She remembers the quiet sting of celebrating everyone else's minor victories, while your major triumphs were met with a deafening silence. The spiritual attack isn't always a dramatic theatrical curse, Leo. Sometimes it looks like pretending they didn't see the light in your eyes when you shared your good news. Sometimes it's the birthday call that feels like an obligation instead of a celebration. It's the subtle, poisonous comparisons to others, the way they amplify someone else's small win to eclipse your monumental one. This isn't just about hate, it's about resistance. Your healing is their reckoning. Your boundaries are their awakening. And instead of choosing to rise with you, they are desperately trying to pull you back into the old, worn-out script where you were the supporting character dependent on their approval, unsure of your own power. But you are not here to play a bit part in someone else's tragedy, Leo. You are not here to wear the scapegoat's mask or carry the ancestral grief of those who are too afraid to shine. You are not here to be the one who bends so the fragile family system doesn't collapse under the weight of its own unlived dreams. You were born to be the one who ends the cycle of dimming one's light for the comfort of others. And yes, that can be a sacred kind of loneliness, a divine exile from the familiar. But it is also, my friend, your ultimate liberation. Because the moment you stop auditioning for a role in a play you've outgrown, the moment you cease seeking validation from the ones who fear your truth, is the very moment your spirit becomes gloriously, blindingly free. Your guides have been leaving you signs in the majestic hawk that circles overhead, in the lyrics of a power anthem that come on at the perfect time, in the way you feel physically drained and exhausted when you're around certain people. They are not punishing you, they are preparing you. They are auditioning a new cast for your life, a life beyond mere survival, a life of thriving, of celebration, of glorious expression. This journey, Leo, isn't about proving your worth to them. This is about remembering it for yourself. You are not broken. You were simply born into a pride that didn't know how to behold the sun without trying to possess its fire. But that story, that ancient pattern, it ends with you. And yes, some may leave your life. Some may gossip and slander your name. Some may expertly play the victim to distract from the truth you carry in your very being. Let them. Because your peace is non-negotiable, and your magnificent becoming is not up for their approval. The sovereign you are becoming, she does not need to be understood by the commoners. She only needs to be whole. Somewhere along your noble path, Leo, you began to confuse love with performance. You believed that staying, enduring the silent disapproval, proved your unwavering loyalty. You thought that if you could just be more generous, more entertaining, more successful, maybe then they'd finally see you. Maybe then they'd finally give you the standing ovation your soul has always craved from them. But endurance is not love, my friend. Tolerance for disrespect is not a sign of strength. And emotional pain, unspoken, prolonged, and spiritualized, becomes a silent poison to the soul. This is how these spiritual attacks work within families. Not with loud curses and dark spells, but with subtle, insidious patterns. Patterns that strip you of your authentic voice and wrap guilt around your throat like a suffocating scarf. Patterns that tell you that sacrifice is noble even when it is your own brilliant spirit being laid upon the altar. And so you stayed. You stayed in rooms where your intuition was dismissed as drama. You sat at tables where your light was deemed too bright. You engaged in conversations where you had to shrink yourself down just to avoid the inevitable storm of their insecurity. But here is the cosmic truth that no one told you: you were never meant to survive there. You were meant to awaken there. Because the version of you who once begged for scraps of applause from their table is gone. She has been buried under moonlight prayers, burnt letters of forgiveness, and tear-soaked nights of surrendering to your own soul's truth. She has dissolved, and what is rising from her ashes is the sovereign who no longer waits to be chosen. She is being born from the embers of familial illusion, and her guides, your guides, are gathering around her, not to seek revenge, but to protect her light, not to fight their shadows, but to clear her path. They whisper in your ear now, not just in dreams, but in the bright light of day. They send a royal chill down your spine when your body is near betrayal. They bring a sacred nausea to your stomach, not to punish you, but to alert you. Your intuition is no longer a whisper, Leo. It is thunder in your bones. It is a royal decree. And they are asking you now, can you walk away even if they never applaud your exit? Can you release them even if they never change their script? Can you choose the peace of your own kingdom over a loyalty to pain? This is not rebellion, dear Leo. It is a sacred realignment. The family karma you were born into may have been heavy with insecurity and competition, but the soul you carry was forged in the heart of the sun to end it. And that ending doesn't always look like a dramatic, fiery confrontation. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it is simply not responding anymore, not explaining, not defending, not showing up to prove you are a good and worthy person. Because you are worthy, even if they never say it. Even if they tell others a twisted version of the story, even if they make you the villain in the fairy tale, they need to tell themselves to stay comfortable. Let them write their myths. You are too busy building your empire. There is a castle of peace being built for you, Leo. It is not made of bricks and mortar or bound by blood ties. It is made of powerful boundaries, radiant clarity, sacred solitude, and a chosen family that celebrates you. You are not alone. You were never alone. Even in your most aching moments of feeling unseen, your guides were there, stitching sunlight back into the cracks of your heart. They knew this time would come. The day your soul would finally roar, no more. No more explaining your passion. No more betraying your creative fire to belong to a tribe that is unworthy of you. No more apologizing for existing too brightly, too boldly, too fully, because too much was only ever too much for those who couldn't handle your truth. But you, magnificent Leo, were born to rule your own universe, not to be a forgotten star in someone else's. And now, you are being called back to the fire, to your element, to the place where your soul doesn't have to translate its brilliance, where you are understood without words, held without performance, seen without distortion. That is the promise your guides made to you before this life began. And that is the future that now awaits you on the other side of detachment, on the other side of grief, on the other side of what you once called family. Let the old stage fall. Your soul has already moved on to a grander theater. Do you feel it, Leo? The strange, majestic quiet after the storm. The weight in your chest loosening, not because the conflict has been resolved, but because you finally stopped waiting for a resolution from the ones who caused the conflict. There is something sacred in this moment. It may not look like a public triumph. It may not sound like thunderous applause, but it is the sound of your soul unhooking itself from the heavy chains of inherited pain. You are no longer a character in their old, tired family play. You have stepped off the stage, laid down their script, and chosen the glorious blank page of your own design. And in that blankness, both terrifying and divine, something new and breathtaking is blooming. No longer are you the one who tiptoes around volatile moods. No longer do you decode backhanded compliments like treacherous riddles. No longer are you the unpaid therapist tending to the wounds of others, while your own heart bleeds in silence. Now you are the one who sets the sacred tone. You are the frequency. You are the prayer. Your detachment is not cruelty. It is the highest act of spiritual reclamation. Because some connections are forged in karma, and breaking them is the only way to rewrite your destiny. They may accuse you of being distant, of changing, of becoming hard or arrogant, but truthfully, you are just finally becoming clear. And your clarity threatens every illusion that once held you captive in their story. It is not your responsibility to make others comfortable with your healing. It is not your task to translate your worth into a language they refuse to learn. It is not your burden to soften your truth so others can digest it without choking on their own denial. Let the discomfort rise. Let the accusations echo. Let the silence deepen. Because in that silence, your real voice is returning. The voice that once trembled when asking for more now speaks with the calm certainty of a monarch. The person who once flinched at tension now walks away without a shred of guilt. The sovereign you are becoming no longer fears rejection. She welcomes it as a holy sign that the old world is falling away. And it must, because your guides are clearing space. They are surrounding you now with the people your soul has been calling in for lifetimes. Those who do not ask you to explain your depth. Those who do not shrink when you shine. Those who pray for your success in rooms you are not even in. This is your chosen pride, your spiritual kin. Souls that recognize you not by your family name, but by the brilliant vibration of your spirit. They are coming, Leo. But first, the old cords must be cut, not with bitterness, but with reverence, not in anger, but in truth, because some soul contracts are meant to expire, and yours, my magnificent Leo, is complete. You have fulfilled your part of the bargain. You stayed longer than most would have. You loved harder than anyone knew. And now, you release them. Not to punish, not to prove a point, but to finally rise into the light your ancestors prayed for. The light they themselves never got to fully walk in. Your steps are their redemption. Your roar is their release. Your peace is the altar they could never build. And so you become the one they tried to control. You become the sun they forgot could never be contained. You become the sovereign who forgives without forgetting the soul, who departs without hate, the presence that outgrows the pain. And when they ask where you went, tell them you returned to your throne. The final shedding always feels a bit like mourning, not because you want them back, but because a version of you, the eternally hopeful, loyal Leo, once believed they could come with you, that they could stay in your joy, stay in your softness, stay beside your expansion, without feeling the need to clip your wings. But not everyone is meant for the altitudes your soul is ascending to. Some are only meant to awaken the parts of you that forgot how to protect your own divine fire. And once that lesson is complete, they fade. Sometimes slowly, sometimes dramatically, but always with divine precision. Your guides have been whispering this to you for so long. Leo, stop asking the wound to become the cure. You've tried. Through patience, through grand gestures of love, through a silence that screamed behind your eyes. But the energy has spoken. And now, so must your actions. This is the part they will never understand, how healing sometimes requires absence. How love can still exist while a boundary is being built. How truth doesn't need witnesses to be real. They may call you dramatic, overreactive, cold, but let them sit with the void you leave behind. Let them taste what it feels like to no longer have access to the warmth they so carelessly took for granted. Because you, my magnificent Leo, you are no longer available for a discount. You are not the emotional buffet they graze from when their own life becomes bitter. You are not the spiritual sponge that soaks up their unprocessed grief. You are sacred ground, and sacred ground is not walked upon. It is approached with reverence. This is the truth your guides have always known, and now you remember it too. You are the fulfillment of a prophecy whispered in your soul long before you were born. The one who would come to feel it all, to shine where others hid, to forgive where others cursed, and to walk away not in a fit of rage, but in quiet, regal knowing. You are the one who saw the wound and chose not to become it, who looked back at the house of pain and didn't run, but turned, bowed with grace, and walked away slowly, with dignity, with power. The spiritual attack is over, Leo. Not because they changed, but because you did. You closed the door, not in hate, but in healing. You walked away not to abandon them, but to return to yourself. And now, the air feels different, doesn't it? The nights are softer. Even your dreams are no longer haunted by what-ifs and could-have-beens. This is the reward for choosing your own worth. A life no longer shaped by the fear of disapproval. A future no longer filtered through the guilt of outshining others. A heart no longer trapped in a role it was never meant to play. You didn't just survive the family system, Leo. You transcended it. And in doing so, you have opened a new golden path, not just for yourself, but for every soul in your lineage that comes after you. This is your legacy. Not the pain, not the patterns, but the peace you chose to create. The love you now know how to receive. The silence that no longer screams, but sings with promise. And should they ever return with apologies or without you, we'll meet them not with armor, but with light. Not to reopen the door to the old stage, but to bless them from the balcony of your new castle. Because now you know who you are. You know where your spirit ends and theirs begins. And you no longer merge out of a desperate longing for applause. The sovereign Leo soul doesn't chase closure. You become the sun that illuminates all endings and beginnings. Thank you for joining me on this powerful journey today, magnificent Leos. Share your thoughts and your I am statements in the comments below. Let us support each other as we rise. Until next time, keep shining your brilliant, unapologetic light. You are the creator of your reality, and you are capable of achieving all of your wildest, most glorious dreams. All my love.